Okay, we're ready to roll. How are you?
Doing good.
You never. Every time I ask you a question, you have to unmute. You just do this. Are you doing any work in the summer? You have any kind of job?
No.
It's by your own choice, or this is just the way it worked out?
Kind of of my own choice.
Okay, hope you enjoy it. Okay, Rabbi Sai, good morning, everybody. All two of us. We're starting Perek Yud Beis, okay? We're starting chapter 12. Let's understand this in greater detail with Hashem's help. In other words, the Perek Yud Aleph, I mean, you didn't learn the beginning because you were not in the Tomche program, but Perek Yud Aleph was really a throwback to the end of Perek Aleph and the beginning of Perek Beis of this Maimer, where he said that Shema Yisrael, that Kriyas Shema is the Yud K of a higher world, of a lower world, and the Shemona Esrei, if you remember, I mentioned it to you in the classes, is the Vav K of a higher world. So here in Perek Yud Aleph, which took us quite some time, the Rebbe went back. By the way, tomorrow no class, okay, Melly? Tomorrow no class. I have to make myself a note to tell people tomorrow I'm taking my children on a trip. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so it's trip day in the Paltiel household, so there's no class, okay? You heard me, right? I don't want you to come for nothing, okay? I don't want you to come for nothing. But Thursday we'll be back in Mitzvah Shem. In Mitzvah Shem. So in Perek Yud Aleph, he started talking about the juxtaposition, the comparison and the contrasting, the comparing and the contrasting of Krishma and Tefillah, of Shema and Shemona Esrei. And in a word, Shema is going up, and Shemona Esrei is bringing down. Shema, you're running away from life. You're doing Mesiras Nefesh. It's extreme. It's polar with an A, Polar, and it's simple. I'm connecting to Hashem. Shemona Esrei is very complex. Why 19 brachas, 19 meditations? Because the whole idea of Shemona Esrei is to bring our relationship with God into our lives. Kriyas Shema is establish a relationship with God by, in effect, running away from life. Shemona Esrei is having a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu by bringing it into our life. And the Rebbe compared it to Tishrei, right? Blowing Shema is like blowing Shofar. And Shemona Esrei is like Rosh Hashanah, like Yom Kippur, like Sukkot, like Simchas Torah, and so on. And in yesterday's class, we discussed that Shmini Atzeres is Sim Shalom. Okay, that was what we did yesterday. So I'm beginning to read Perek Yud Beis. Hine. I want to go back and discuss what says in Kabbalah in the Sefer Pri Yitzchak. And again, I don't want to give you a long speech, but I do want to give you a short speech, okay? Kabbalah has two types of Sforim. Kabbalah has two types of books. And I've told this to you before. One is called Hakdamis, and the other is called Kavonis. Hakdamot and Kavanot. Hakdamis means introductions. It means stage setters. It means giving information. Kavonis means meditation. In other words, Kabbalah is really, the true art of Kabbalah is to have a new way of doing mitzvahs and learning Torah. Great Kabbalists used Kabbalah to create a unique relationship with Hashem every time they learned Torah and every time they did a mitzvah and so on. That's called Kavanah. Right? Kabbalah has a new set, a whole new approach to Kavanas HaMitzvahs, and when you do mitzvahs according to the Kavanas of the Arizal, Kavanas of Kabbalah, it's a special kind of doing mitzvahs. But in order to be able to do a mitzvah with a Kavanah, you have to know Kabbalah. And that's called Hagdama. You learn a lot of things by way of introduction, and you know Kabbalah, and then when you learn Torah and do mitzvahs, you can have kavanas. So the two Hebrew words are Hagdamis, Hagdamot, and Kavanot. Hagdamot means the introductions, the preludes to Chachmas HaKabbalah, and Kavanah means the application of Chachmas HaKabbalah. And in the language of the Arizal, it's called Eitz Chaim and Pri Eitz Chaim. Eitz Chaim means the tree of life, and Pri Eitz Chaim means the fruit of the tree of life. So if you're looking inside, it says Beis Pei Ayin Ches is an abbreviation for Pri Eitz Chaim, the fruit of the tree of life. In other words, the Sefer, which the Rebbe is quoting here, is not a Sefer of Hagdomis, of background meditations, but of meditations itself. And he says the following. The first section of Shema, Yesh Ba Shem Mab. It has Hashem's name, which is Mab. Mab is 42. I'll get back to this in a minute. Keneged Mem Beis Teven, because Shema has 42 words. You can't count the pasuk Shema Yisrael from the word V'Yahavta till V'Yisharecha. You have 42 words, and therefore it corresponds to the mystical name of Hashem, which is 42, which is, by the way, mentioned even in the Gemara. Upashas V'Haya Im Shamaya, the second section of Shema, which is V'Haya Im Shamaya. Yesh Ba Ayin Beis Teven. It has Yesh Ba Shem Ab. It has the divine name Ab, which is 72, which is connected Ayin Beis Teven. It corresponds to the 72 words that from V'Haya until V'Samtem V'Goymer. I don't know exactly where V'Samtem V'Goymer ends. It doesn't go till the end of Laman, but there are 72 words from V'Haya Im Shamaya till a certain point in that paragraph of Kriyat Shema. So the Arizal says that the first parsha of Krishma has 42 words and it corresponds to the divine name Mab. V'Haya Im Shamaya has 72 words and it corresponds to the divine name Ab, which is Ayin Beis, 72. Now, a little lesson in Kabbalah, not a long lesson, but a short lesson, okay? We say a prayer a few times. We say it in the morning every day. We say it at night in Kriya Shema Shalamita. We say it Friday night before L'Chadoidi. We say it in Sfiras HaOmer, and there may be other occasions when we say it as well. And that prayer is Ona B'Choyach. Ona B'Choyach Yidulus Yemincha Tate Surah Kabel Zamcha, right? If you look at the prayer of Ona B'Choyach, you'll see that it has 7 lines. Each line has 6 words. 7 times 6 is 42. At the end of each of those 7 lines, there'll be an abbreviation. Like the first line will say Abag Yitatz, Aleph Beis Gimel, Yud Tov Tzadik, right? The second line will say Kras Sotan, Kuf Reish Ayin Shin Tes Nun, Kabel Rinas Amcho Sagvenu Tareinu Neira. Each line there are 7 lines of Ana B'Chayach. Each line has 6 words across, plus the abbreviation is 7. Now, again, I don't want to give you long speeches. If you're interested in a long speech on Ana B'Chayach, there's a website I heard about that's called Inside Hasidus by some Rabbi Paltiel. I have several classes, probably 3 or 4 classes on Ana B'Chayach itself. You can go check it out and see what I had to say about it. I actually taught it twice, and I even think I taught it in 2 different ways. You can check it out if you want. When do we say Ana B'Chayach? I can't tell you this for sure, but it seems to me from what I've read, Ana B'Chayach you say every time you want to say a Kaddish, and you can't because you don't have a minyan. Different parts of davening are demarked, are separate from one another by a Kaddish, right? When you start Haidu, you say Kaddish. When you say Baruch Hu, you say Kaddish. Now in the morning, we can't say Kaddish before Shmoneh Esrei because you're not allowed to interrupt. But by Mincha and by Ma'ariv before Shmoneh Esrei, you say Kaddish. After Shmoneh Esrei, you say Kaddish. After Tachnun, you say Kaddish. After Shoshem, whenever you go from a place to place, you say Kaddish. Kaddish is a mystical ladder. Ladder. Kaddish is a mystical ladder. When you climb up from a lower world to a higher world, you say a Kaddish. Now apparently, and I don't know how this works exactly, but when you climb down from a higher world to a lower world, you say Kaddish. In yesterday's learning, he mentioned that Shmoneh Esrei is Atzilus. After Shmoneh Esrei, there's the Kaddish. Voltzion is Bria. After Voltzion, there's the Kaddish. Shosh Hayom is Yetzira. After Shosh Hayom, there's the Kaddish. Pita Makteris is Asiya. After Pita Makteris is a Kaddish. So Kaddish is like an elevator. When you want to go up from a lower world to a higher world, you want to come down from a higher world to a lower world, you say Kaddish. What happens if you're sitting in your house and you have no minyan? Can't say Kaddish. So you say Ana B'Chayach. Ana b'chayach takes the place of a Kaddish. Why? Because Ana b'chayach, like Kaddish, is a ladder that takes us from a world to a world. However, Ana b'chayach is not the same kind of ladder as Kaddish, the way I'm understanding it. Because,
Yes.
Shalom Aleichem, Avram Baruch Shlita. We're happy to have you. Ana b'chayach is not the same kind of a ladder as Kaddish is, because Kaddish can either be a ladder going up or a ladder coming down. Ana b'chayach is only a ladder going up. When you want to go from a lower world to a higher world, and you don't have a minyan or you don't want to say a Kaddish, it's Ana b'chayach. That's why Friday night before L'chadoidi we say Ana b'chayach, because you're ascending from a lower world to a higher world. That's why in Krishma Shalamita, when there's no minyan, or before davening, when you're saying Yezau Makayim, when you're not in shul, you can't say a Kaddish, so you say Ana b'chayach. That's how this works, okay? Now, why is Ana b'chayach a ladder going up? Or to be more precise, why is Ana b'chayach a ladder going up and not coming down? And the answer is because Ana b'chayach has 42 words, okay? Now, how do I say this? Oh, it just disappeared. You disappeared from me. This is not a football game, and I'm not a quarterback, right? But a quarterback stands behind the center, and he says a bunch of numbers, and all the players know what the numbers mean, and then they move in different formations, and then they do a play, right? That's how it works, right? One of the numbers in Kabbalah is 42. The number 42 is Gvura. The number 42 is Gevura. In other words, the number 42 is an elevator from a lower world to a higher world. That's what Gevura means. Gevura is going up, Chesed is bringing down. Ana b'chayach is a ladder going up. Why? Because there are 7 midas. There are 7 sfiras. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 6 is 42. Now, what's the difference between 42 and 49? The difference between 42 and 49 is Malchus, right? Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, that's 6. So 6 times 7 would be each one of the 7 midas. Chesed, Sheba Chesed, and Gevura, Sheba Chesed, and Tiferes, Sheba Chesed, and Netzach, Sheba Chesed, and Hod, Sheba Chesed, and Yesod, Sheba Chesed. No Malchus. And then Chesed Sheba Gvura and Gvura Sheba Gvura. Even Chesed Sheba Malchus and Gvura Sheba Malchus and Tiferes Sheba Malchus and Netzach Sheba Malchus and Hod Sheba Malchus and Yesod Sheba Malchus and Netzach Sheba Malchus, Hod Sheba Malchus, but no Malchus. Why? Because the job of Malchus is to bring down. Malchus, it says in Zayat, is the mouth. It brings down. If you have 42 and not 49, that means you have all the emotions, all the midas, as they're multiplied times each other, but you don't have the aspect that brings it to the lower world. So in Kabbalah, the difference between the number 42, which is Ana b'chayach, and the number 49, like by Sfiras HaOmer, is that 42 is to go up, because you're missing the legs to bring it down, and 49 is Chesed. 49 brings it to a lower world. And I'll tell you a story. Why am I going to tell you a story? Because stories you're going to remember, stories are Geshmak, stories are the Ikil HaMedesh, Ikil HaMais. The Baal Shem Tov had a brother-in-law whose name was Rab Gershon Mikitev. Rab Gershon Kitever. Rab Gershon Mikitev was a big Gaon and a big Chassid. Rab Gershon Kitever lived in Europe. He was a Rav in the city of Brod, I believe. And at a certain point in his life, Rab Gershon Kitever made what we call in the modern world Aliyah. He moved to Israel, moved to Eretz Yisrael. To move to Eretz Yisrael, when he did, in the 1740s, was unbelievably difficult because there was no work, there was no food, people lived in poverty. They wanted to live in Eretz Yisrael, even though it was very, very hard, because of the Kedushas Ha'aras. They wanted to be in a holy place. They would be Meisei Nefesh, lived in Eretz Yisrael. Reb Gershon Kitever, like many other great tzaddikim and gedolim and go'onim, made the decision he's going to move to Eretz Yisrael because he wanted to be in the Holy Land and to die in the Holy Land, as the Gemara says. When it came to Eretz Yisrael, who was the big personality? Who was like the Rebbe of the Kehillah, the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael? Reb Chaim ben Attar, the Oira Chaim HaKadosh, right? The famous Oira Chaim HaKadosh, Chaim ben Attar. He was the great personality in Israel at that time. And parenthetically, Reb Chaim ben Attar did not have any sons. He only had daughters, and he taught them Torah. He wrote his Pirush on Chumash for them. I had a student in Mechon Chana once whose family name was Ben Attar. And she's a descendant of the Chaim HaKadosh. So I told her, you realize that you named after your grandmother because Your grandfather's name could not have been Ben Atar. Reb Chaim HaKadosh had no sons. And she said, yep. When you have a very holy Zaydah, so you take your mother's last name. So her, 2000 and whatever it was, 15, I had a student who carries the name of the Reb Chaim HaKadosh, even though she could not have been a patrilineal descendant, because he had no sons. Reb Chaim Ben Atar was so great that the Baal Shem Tov was desperate to meet him. I mean, they say in Sfarim that the Baal Shem Tov, the Reb Chaim HaKadosh, Mashiach would come. Three times, 1, 2, 3. The Baal Shem Tov tried to go to Israel and meet the Reb Chaim HaKadosh, and each time his plan was foiled. It did not happen. And he was really trying to get to meet him, the Baal Shem Tov was. And he wrote a letter to his brother-in-law. His brother was Reb Gershon Kittev, who had moved to Israel and had somehow joined the community, the group, the inner circle that was learning Torah and Kabbalah with Reb Chaim Ben Atar, with the Reb Chaim HaKadosh. So the Baal Shem Tov wrote to his brother-in-law with a question. Baal Shem Tov wrote to his brother-in-law, says, do me a favor, go into the Reb Chaim HaKadosh and ask him if we will ever meet in the physical world, if it's even worth trying. Is it going to happen, or am I wasting my time? So Reb Gershon Kittever went into the Reb Chaim HaKadosh and he asked him the question. My brother-in-law, Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, wants to know if we're ever going to meet on this side. So the Reb Chaim HaKadosh said to Reb Chaim to his brother-in-law, Reb Gershon Kittever, ask your brother-in-law, ask the Baal Shem Tov, when he sees me, what does he see? They used to meet upstairs every day, but they didn't meet down here. When he sees me Lamailo, when he sees me on high, what does he see? So the Reb Gershon Kittever wrote a letter to the Baal Shem Tov with this question, that you asked me to ask Rabbi Chaim HaKadosh if you would ever meet him physically. His answer was that you should tell him when you see him Lamaila, when you see him in Gan Eden, when you make Aliyas HaNeshama, how do you see me, meaning the Reb Chaim HaKadosh? And the Baal Shem Tov said to his brother-in-law, when I see him Lamaila, I see everything except the soles of his feet. The very, very bottom of his feet are cut off. So when this letter was sent to Reb Gershon Kittever, and Reb Gershon Kittever went into the Reb Chaim HaKadosh, and he told him what the Baal Shem Tov wrote, that he sees his entire body, just doesn't see the soles of his feet. So the Reb Chaim HaKadosh said, if that's the case, he'll never see me in this world, because the bottom of the feet represents this world. He'll never see me. In other words, they had such a deep connection. He saw his head and his eyes and his nose and his mouth and his ears and his neck and his arms and his chest and his his navel and his thighs and his legs and his knees and his feet. He didn't see the bottom of his feet, so the Chaim HaKadosh says, you'll never meet me in this life. Okay? Now, in Kabbalah, this idea that I just told you, that the bottom of the feet are representative of this world, has names. It's called Shulamis. Shulamit, it's a girl's name. Or Anoichi, it's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Shloimnei Emunei Yisrael. I don't know where it's a pasuk. It means shleimus. Wholeness means you have feet. Having feet means you don't just live in the sky, you can't get to earth. Ona B'chayach has 42 words, which means it has no feet. The feet would be the last 7. Malchus of Chesed, and Malchus of Gvura, and Malchus of Teferes, and Malchus of Netzach, and Malchus of Eid, and Malchus of Yesed, and Malchus of Malchus. If it has no feet, it doesn't come down. It only goes up. This is why the Kabbalistic name of Hashem, Mab, 42, is a shame of Gevura. Gevura means rising up. Okay? The opposite of Shem Mab would be, technically it's 49, right? But in Kabbalah it's Ayin Beis, 72, because the Hebrew word chesed, ches, samach, dalet is begimatia 72. Samach is 60, ches is 8, dalet is 40, together it's 72. So ab and mab. Ayin Beis is chesed. Mem Beis is gvura. The first pasha of Krishma has 42 words. The second pasha of Krishma, till a certain point, has 72 words, and they therefore represent gevura and chesed. So the first pasha of Shema is going up. The second pasha of Shema is bringing down. Okay, now let me give you a mashal. Let me give you a for instance. Okay, what's the difference between fire and water? What's the difference between fire and water? Of course, I don't mean this physically. I mean this philosophically. What's the difference between fire and water? 2 things. You ready? There's 100 things, but I'm just speaking about 2. Number 1, the direction of fire is up. The direction of water is down. Fire goes up because it's lighter than air. Water goes down because it's heavier than air. It cascades. It goes from a high level to a low level. But there's another difference between fire and water, which is also very, very important. Fire crumbles. If you have a piece of wood, the fire is going to burn the wood and reduce it to tiny little dust particles of ash. Water dilutes. If in water you have little particles of sand or little particles of ash, forgive me, they become diluted, they become a part and parcel of the water. Okay, so I just told you two differences between fire and water. Number one, fire raises up, water comes down. Number two, fire breaks apart. Little details. And water dilutes. Now, what does it mean psychologically to break apart? And what does it mean psychologically to dilute? Psychologically, to break apart means you take a human being and you pick him apart piece by piece. You look at a person, yeah? If you take a person apart piece by piece, every person is going to have chesrenes. If I were to analyze myself, and believe me, I know myself well enough to know that I wouldn't have to work very, very hard, and not look at the totality of my life, how I live and how I think and how I feel, but judge my individual actions, there are things that I do that are bad. That's why judgment is such a terrible thing. Because when you judge a person, you take them apart. And when you take a person apart, you put your finger on one raw nerve, right? A guy stole. Is he a ganav? If he steals every day, he's a ganav. He stole once, not a ganav. But in a court of law, they take that one action of stealing and they make that into his whole life and they incriminate a person. That's what gevura means. When you take a person apart piece by piece and you judge each aspect by itself, it's not wrong, it's not false, it's exact and it's tough. Water dilutes. If a person has a lot of good and some bad, in water it's going to become diluted. That's what chesed is. Gevura raises up and is mefared. It dissects a person and finds every fault. Chesed brings down and it dilutes. It washes away. Unless you have huge, gigantic flaws, the water will dilute it. So Kabbalistically, the first pash of Kishma is Gvura. You're raising up and you're being very exact. Mab, 42. The second pash of Krishma is Chesed. You're bringing down, you're diluting, you're being kind, and that's the from Shem Ab. So the first pash of Krishma is Gevura going up. The second pash of Krishma is Chasadim coming down. Okay? Questions or comments? Just make thumbs and I'll move on. If you have no questions, just make me. Okay, very good. Now, Her Mechos, one more thing. You know what we just did? In the previous perek, we talked about Shema and Shemini Esrei. The very same thing we said in the last perek with Shema and Shemini Esrei, we're now saying about Shema and Shema. In the previous perek, Shema was going up, Shemini Esrei was bringing down. Shema is Mesiras Nefesh to Hashem. Shemini Esrei is 19 brachas, 19 different meditations, bringing Hashem into the world in 19 different ways. What we just did now in V'hayim Shamaya is say that you don't have to look to Shema and Shemini Esrei for Chesed and Gevura, going up and coming down. In Shema itself, you have Chesed and Gevura. The first pasha of Kishma is going up, and the second pasha of Kishma is going down. In other words, if this was a class in psychology, we would call this classic transference. We were talking about Shema and Shemini Esrei, now we're talking Shema and V'hayim Shamaya. Shema is Gevura, Mab, ascent, going up, and V'hayim Shamaya is Chesed, Ab, bringing down. Okay? Now, if you have no questions, I shall proceed. Just give me a thumb and I'll move. Good. And I'll start from the beginning of the perek again. Let's explain this very specifically with the help of God Almighty. I want to preface, it says in Kabbalah Sfarim, the first pash of Krishma, Yeshba Shem Mab, has the divine name Membeis, Keneged Membeis Tevin Shem V'Yahavta L'Bisharecha, because there's 42 words from V'Yahavta to L'Bisharecha, and it's Shem Mab. Now I want you to know that in the Gemara, Masechet Kedushin, they list Shem Dalid, Shem Yud Beis, and Shem Membeis. The Rambam also talks about these three Shems. There are hundreds of names of Hashem in Kabbalah, but the Gemara lists three. the name of Hashem of 4 words, the name of Hashem of 12 words, which I don't know what that is, and the name of Hashem of 42 words, which is, we call it on a B'chayach. Those are the only 3 shemis that the Gemara actually discusses, and it's a name of Gevura. The second section of Kriya Shema, you have Yashba Shem Ab, you have the divine name Ayin Beis, and as I told you before, Ayin Beis is simply the gematria, is the numerical equivalent of 72. Keneged Ayin Beis Tevin, it corresponds to the 72 words. So the Rebbe said, I got a question. I don't understand. Everybody knows, and I don't know who everybody is, but everybody, I never met everybody, I'm looking for him for a long time. Whoever everybody is knows that Pashat Shema v'Hoya in Chesed Gevura, that the first Pasha of Krishma is Chesed, and the second Pasha of Krishma is Gevura. And we just said that the first Pasha of Krishma is Mab, which is Gevura. The second Pasha of Krishma is Ab, which is Chesed. It's a straight out contradiction. We came along and said that the first Pasha of Krishma, which everybody knows is about love, is Gevura. The second Pasha of Krishma, which everybody knows is about exactitude, is about Chesed. It's a contradiction. Okay? That's Rebbe's question. Therefore, Kivan Sheshmahu Chesed, if the tradition that the first Pasha of Krishma is about Chesed, why would the first Pasha of Krishma have 42 words that corresponds to the name of Hashem, which has 42 letters, which is the Yin of Gevura? The Mishum Hachi Kol Haliyas Waidei Shem Mab, like I told you before. Ana B'chayach is an elevator. You want to go from world to a world? Say Kaddish. You have no minion saying say Kaddish, say the second best thing to Kaddish. The second best thing to Kaddish is Abagyatat. Ana B'chayach Yidulas Yemincha Tat Yitzruda. Kras Sotan, Kabel, Yunus, Amchaz, Avinta, Neda, and so on. The Mishum Shabachin Asa Gevura, because the whole idea of Gevura, and I told you many times, Gevura doesn't mean mean. Gevura is not mean, and Gevura does not exaggerate. Gevura is simply exact. Gevura doesn't lie. Gevura will study a person. Yeah, they'll take Melly Zyler from Florida and say, we're going to study you. We're not going to say one lie about you. We're not going to exaggerate anything about you, but we're going to point out everything about you. And we're going to put each one in a different folder. If you take any human being and you divide up all the things he did or all the midas that he has, and you put each one into a separate folder, you will find things that are not good. And when you put it into a folder by itself, and you open up that folder, you say, oh no, bad person. That's what Gevura does. It takes us apart. And when you take anybody apart, they're all going to be not good. Shem Mab is the name of Gevura. Because the divine attribute of Gevura has to do with ascent and departure. Like I told you before, fire goes up and fire breaks apart. Those are 2 characteristics of Gevura. Says the Rebbe, make up your mind. We know from way back that the first Pasha of Krishma is Chesed. Here we're saying it's Gevura. So which is it? Is the first Pasha of Krishma Chesed or Gevura? Now he repeats the same question a second time. We know from the past that the second Pasha of Krishma is about Gevura. That's when the second Pasha of Krishma, you have the idea of Hashem getting angry because the second Pasha of Krishma is dissecting and taking a person apart. It says how can the second Pasha of Krishma, which is an inyan of Gevura, have a divine name 72, which is Chesed? Because 72 is the Chesed, the gematria of 72, and so he doesn't mention water, but in other places they say that Gevura is fire for the 2 reasons that I gave you, and Chesed is water for the 2 reasons that I gave you. So in short, we have a contradiction. In one place in Kabbalah it's written that Shema is Chesed, here it's written that it's Gevura. In another place in Kabbalah it's written that V'hayim Shemaya is Gevura, and here it's Chesed. How do you resolve that contradiction? Says the Rebbe, says the Rebbe, I heard a teretz about this contradiction, whether the first Pasha of Krishma is Chesed, as we know from the 4. The first Pasha of Krishma is Gevura, like it says here. Or the second Pasha of Krishma is Gevura, like we know from before. Or the second Pasha of Krishma is Chesed, like it says here. How do you resolve that difference? It says the Rebbe, the teretz is Dachalifu, Dachtaya, because you mix places. Oira chesed b'kli hagevura. The keli is gevura and the light is chesed. And eira gevura b'kli chesed. The keli is chesed and the light is gevura. That's a teretz. The first pasha of Krishma, the keli, the vessel, the body is gevura, the light is kind. The second pasha of Krishma, the keli, the vessel is kind, and the light is exact. Both in the Zayir and in the Arizah. Hine pasha Shema, the first section of Shema. The light is from Gevura. V'lachein Hashem Humab, which is why the divine name of the first pasha of Krishma is 42. Because Hashem because you know that the names of Hashem go on the light canals we discussed before. But the Tzemach Tzedek says we spoke at Yud Ariches for 3 months, literally for 2 months, for a very, very long time. How the Indian of Oir, the Indian of names is Oir. So the Rebbe says the Shem Memba, the divine name 42, is the Oir. So the first pasha of Krishma, the Keli is Chesed, and the Oir is Gevura. On the Makeli, who Chesed, the light, the vessel is Chesed, and the Oir is Gevura. On top of page 240, Rabbi Paltiel following inside. Which is why in the first kasha of Krishma says he should love, because Avas Bechinas HaChesed. So the Keli of the first pasha of Krishma is Chesed. The Oir of the first pasha of Krishma is Gevura. And the second pasha of Krishma is the other way around. The light is kind, and the vessel is exact. The divine name is 72. And the vessel is Gevura. Stop. Shoit. Kasha teretz. Okay? The first pasha of Krishma is Keli is Chesed, its Oir is Gevura. The second pasha of Krishma is Keli is Gevura, and its Oir is Chesed. Now, Meli, I'm going to do something really bad and really selfish, okay? I'm going to read the next 6 lines like speakers in the Senate. I'm going to filibuster, okay? I'm going to read it. I'm going to translate it. If you get it, good. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. The Tzemach Tzedek said that Mai Zayed, the Alter Rebbe, said to Maimorim, and he contradicted himself from one extreme to the next. Tzemach Tzedek is repeating Chassidus from his grandfather. And his grandfather teaches him, Bechlal, as a rule, that Shema is a Keli of Chesed and an Oid of Gevura, V'hayim Shemaya is a Keli of Gevura and an Oid of Chesed. So I'm reading inside, second line, top of page 240, parenthesis. Do not ask me a question if you're a diligent student. That everything I just said says in the Alter Rebbe Siddur, which is a different Sefer of Chassidus, exactly the opposite. There's another Maimon from the Alter Rebbe which says the following: Shema Eira Chesed B'Kli HaGevura. That Shema, the Keli is Gevura and the Oir is Chesed. And V'hayim Shemaya, the Keli is Chesed and the Oir is Gevura. Here we're saying that Shema is Chesed, the Keli is Chesed and the Oir is Gevura. V'hayim Shemaya, the Keli is Gevura and the Oir is Chesed. In another place, my Zayda said exactly the opposite. So the Rebbe says the Be'emes Elu V'Elu Divim Chaimim. They're both true. They're both words of the living God. In one place, Shema is Keli of Chesed and Oir of Gevura. And Rabbi Shemaya is Keli Gevura and Eid of Chesed. Another place, the other way around, and the Rebbe doesn't explain how. He just states, and he continues. Kasharani case of Karmar. I'm writing over here. Shaman imipek Kedesh Kvei Kedusha Dadeini of Izikni made it up. This was heard from the Alter Rebbe. Beleil Shabbos Kedesh Pashas Neach Shnas Tov Kuf Samachay Bariches. The night, Friday night of Pashas Noach in the year Tov Kuf Samachay 1805 or 1804. My Zayda said a Maimer, says the Tzemach Tzedek, and in that Maimer he said that Shema, the first Pasha of Krishma, the Keli is Chesed and the Oid is Gevura. The second Pasha of Krishma, the Keli is Gevura, there is Chesed. Even though in another place says different. Be'ez, what was special about that Shabbos? Because Hayes Mishalachet Avakadosh of Arami Titiv Nechad of Hashem Tev Zal Eitzel Kvei Kedushas. The Baal Shem Tov had a grandson whose name was Arami Titiv. I don't know where he comes from. Baal Shem Tov's son or the Baal Shem Tov's daughter. But Arami Titiv was a big tzaddik, and he came to see the Alter Rebbe. And when he was by the Alter Rebbe said this, Maimed, Ve'imohem Yachad, together with him and his people, we heard Shamayim Maimed, and now we heard this Maimed, which is like our Maimed, where it says that Shma's Keli is Chesed and Oid is Gevura. Shma's Keli is Gevura and Oid is Chesed. The Siddur is exactly the opposite. Nidalish Amakain Pamacheres. The Tzemach Tzedek writes, my grandfather said it on a different occasion, differently, and he says for Emes to be sure, Shneim Emes, they're both true. in one hand, the Shma's Keli is Chesed and Eid is Gevura, and Shmoy's Keli is Gevura and Eid is Chesed. But on the other hand, it's the other way around. Shma's Keli is Chesed and Eid is Gevura, Shmoy's Keli is Gevura and Eid is Shmoy's Keli is Chesed and Eid is Gevura. How do you resolve it? So he says, Ki Hashem is Heimemutzayim, because he introduced us to a new idea. The names of Hashem are not Eid or Keli, they're in between Eid and Keli. What the Tzemach Tzedek is saying here, and I'm not really explaining it, is that when you say the word Keli and Eid, you could mean two things. If Keli means body, and Eid means soul, it's like it says here. The Keli of Shema is Chesed, and the Eid is Gevura. The Keli of Shema is Gevura, and the Eid is Chesed. But if Keli and Eid doesn't mean body and soul, it means a plain soul and a formed soul, a soul with a tziyah and a soul which is pshitos. In other words, Eid which has a shaykhas to sfiris and Eid which does not have a shaykhas to sfiris, then it's the other way around. That Shema, it's Keli, which means the Eid with a sfira is Gevura, and Chesed is the Eid Pashut, and by Shema it's the opposite. Keli, which means the Eid with a tziyah is Chesed, and the Eid Pashut is Gevura. And that's it. Now, what I just did was filibustered. Like I said, I read 6 lines. I'm not explaining it. Thursday, we're going to learn, and I'm going to start on page 248 lines from the top where it says V'ha'inyan. Okay? Melly, I can't see you anymore, but I'm going to say goodbye. You don't have to come back on unless there's something to say. Okay? We're good? You want to tell me something? You want to ask me a question? You want to tell me how to know what I'm talking about? Whatever is on your mind.
The Alter Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek don't really make sense.
No, the Alter Rebbe said to my modim, and the Alter Rebbe himself contradicted himself. And what the Tzemach Tzedek says to explain it is, one Maimah is talking about real Keli and real Oyer, and the other Maimah is talking about the Oyer in the Keli in Oyer and Oyer without the light that has some kind of a color and the light that has zero color. That's how he resolves it. But there's two Maimarim of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said polar opposite things, and the Tzemach Tzedek is trying to explain it by saying that they're talking about 2 levels. Keli Mamish and Oyer Mamish is one level. Oyer with a tziyur, Oyer with a form, Oyer without a form is the other way around. Okay, I'm not going to ask you if you understand. I'm going to tell you just sleep on it. I'll see you Thursday. Okay? We're good?
Yeah.